Good afternoon and welcome to the 330 Sports Show. Today is Thursday, November 30th, 2023, last day of November already. We are going to talk mostly Cleveland Browns on this show, but we'll talk a tiny bit of Ohio State Buckeyes and a little bit of Youngstown State Penguins. As you can see, I'm wearing some Youngstown Clothing Company gear here, but we will talk about Youngstown State being in the playoffs this weekend. They take on Villanova, as well as some of the basketball teams in action. So before we do that, let's have a quick word from our sponsors.
Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling is affordable, professional, and there when you need us 24/7. Stay warm this winter by calling your hometown hero today. Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling, 330-207-7070. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Eric Cromer, Cross Country Mortgage, a wiser way to mortgage. This program proudly supported and brought to you by the Youngstown Drip IV Bar, helping the Mahoning Valley reach its wellness goal. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Youngstown Computer, the Valley's IT company.
All right, welcome back. Joe?
What's up, dude?
Last week,
I don't talk about it.
Browns.
Talk about something else.
Well, last week was a bad week football-wise, except for YSU. YSU got the win, saved kind of the weekend, but it was a bad weekend otherwise for, I'm a big Buckeye fan. Obviously, you lose to your rival. We hate John Elway. You go out to Denver, you lose that game for the Browns. So rough football weekend overall after, a nice Thanksgiving and all that. So it kind of sucked. So have had a couple days to like sleep on it and ease the pain, I guess. And I'm back. I'm ready to be hurt again on this Thursday. And the Browns.
Do you pay attention to any other team?
Yeah.
So are all the teams dealing with so many freaking injuries?
There's a lot of injuries this year. Like, I have never seen this many quarterback injuries in the NFL.
We have a third of our team in some way beat up.
And not just like regular dudes either.
Yeah,
we're talking, all right, your quarterback, who, whether you love him or hate him, he's a great player. So your quarterback, the best running back in the league, you can argue, like maybe best rushing running back in the league. Amari Cooper's banged up. I hope he's going to play. Denzel Ward, all-pro cornerback, missed last week. Left or right tackle, all-pro, former all-pro, Jack Conklin, out. Josh Dobbs, who was on your team, no longer on your team. He was gone. Your backup that you hoped would be the future backup of your team gets a concussion in the game.
Our premier edge rusher.
Yeah. Myles Garrett gets banged up and no structural damage, but may have structural damage from various reports, but is planning on playing this weekend. So if we lost Myles Garrett, I would probably have just, I'm going to watch, but that would have been not the end of the season, but it would have been just about curtains for this season. But we can't afford to lose any more guys.
No,
we really can't. And we are. Anthony Walker was also out last week, and I'm sure I'm missing a few more guys here and there.
But our linebackers, they're safe.
Now. We got Anthony Walker was one of those guys, but he hopefully is back.
Man, he's killing it.
Taki's been coming back. And JOK has been playing at an all-pro level.
Yes.
He was one of the positives to come out of that game last week. And he should probably, even though we hate the Pro Bowl and stuff, he should get recognition for that honor of being one of the best linebackers in the league for sure this season. So
the two embarrassing parts of this game were the freaking drops. Like that should not happen in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And when you play some kind of trick play, you better make it happen every time, or else don't do it at all.
I think, okay, so let's start with the trick play.
Yeah.
So the reverse, and apparently Pierre Strong is the fastest person on the Browns roster. So if you block that up right, I think Kevin Stefanski was hoping for lightning in a bottle with maybe making a play happen because DTR was out. And let's just be honest, I've seen enough of PJ Walker for the rest of the season, maybe all eternity. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being, and I thank him for helping us beat San Francisco and Indianapolis. But and had an okay game against the Colts, or I'm sorry, against the Seahawks. But I've seen enough of him to. He could stay on the practice squad. Let's just put it that way. So I've seen enough of him. But where I was going with that is I think Stefanski, for all the injuries and whatnot, was like, we gotta make something happen. We gotta manufacture something. And if he executes that, reverse the pitch or handoff or whatever it was, that might go for something, might spring you, might put a boost into the team. But frankly, it had the opposite effect, and it just spiraled all downhill from there. So honestly, let me ask you this before we go back to the drops. What did you think of DTR's performance in that game before he got hurt?
If I were to take a report card and I would say before the season where I want him to be, he's right on par, man. Yeah. He's got 3 games under his belt at best.
Yeah.
And he is poised in there. His accuracy is there. His arm is there. I couldn't ask for anything more from him, honestly.
Yeah. I was very pleased with his play up until the injury, and again, there were some drops. Even Amari Cooper on that 2-point conversion, it would have been 14-14. And you're right back in the game. And then all of a sudden, Amari Cooper drops that, and then it just spirals downhill from then with the injury and then the fumble.
Well, there's a psychology behind this because there's been a different eras where we got a case of the dropsies from some really great players.
Yeah.
And I think when you're playing from like a defensive, vulnerable position where, whatever, you don't feel confident.
Yeah.
That's when the drops happen.
Yeah. That's a great point. And when you have a rookie quarterback, you need him to have all the confidence he needs going forward. And if he's throwing to guys like Amari Cooper, who's been a Pro Bowl wide receiver, and Njoku, who's one of the better tight ends in the league,
and the most beautiful man on that field.
You really love David Njoku. I mean, he is a physical specimen. There is no doubt about that.
He is.
But there is something to be said, though. If you're put behind the 8 ball as a quarterback and you're already without Nick Chubb, you're already, you got a banged up offensive line, and guys aren't making plays for you, then you kind of feel like you got to do more than you have to. And that's where mistakes happen.
Absolutely.
So if you can just make the simple play, that's where things
because they want to break off the big chunk play, and they start looking forward to the dazzle instead of just the mechanics.
That's where I think the psychology comes in with Kevin Stefanski too, where he's like, we're not doing enough to win, and now PJ Walker's in here, and God bless PJ Walker, but he's just not an NFL quarterback. He's not. He has somehow, the Browns have won in spite of him for 2 games, 2 of the 3 games he's played. I think he's played in like 4 or 5 games now, which is insane. If you said at the beginning of the season, Deshaun Watson would play 6 games, PJ Walker would play like 5, and DTR would play like 4, and now maybe freaking Joe Flacco might be your starting quarterback this weekend, what would you have thought?
No way. That's crazy talk.
I mean, this could be your 4th starting quarterback this season. I would venture to say that hasn't happened in the last couple seasons. Injuries happen, but
4?
A lot of times you go maybe to your backup, and at worst, maybe to a 3rd string guy. You're not generally
what is that then? Our offensive line is great. Like we're not really.
Yeah, I mean, we're not giving up like a ton of sacks. I think it's just, like the DTR thing was, I mean, that was a vicious hit. He got hit under the chin. And, if anybody that's ever been in sports, that's, whether it's basketball and you've taken an elbow to the face or like boxers, whatever, that's why you wear a mouthpiece. Right. And a lot of times those quarterbacks aren't wearing that mouthpiece because they want to, call out the play. If you hit and your teeth come down, it is a brutal feeling and not very fun. So hopefully he can get back and play this weekend. DTR, I'm speaking of. But if he can't, it looks like it's going to be Flacco. So, and the Browns, interestingly enough, stayed out on the West Coast. They flew from Denver to Los Angeles, and they've been out there all week. So they had an off day Tuesday, practice yesterday, practice today, practice tomorrow, and probably like a light walkthrough Friday, and then like a very minimal like touch-up stuff on Saturday. But they're practicing at UCLA, which is where DTR went to school. Kind of cool out there. But it would have been nice for him to be able to get out there and practice. And I'm sure being on West Coast time, they're practicing a little bit later than usual. I don't know what his status is yet today. We're recording this Thursday afternoon. So hopefully
the criticism against Stefanski calling so many passing attempts when the run was surely working.
Yeah.
Like, what are the thoughts?
Okay. So coming into that game, Denver had one of the worst, I think the worst rushing per game numbers in the NFL. Now that was skewed by one game against Miami where they ran for like 300 some yards,
70 or whatever.
And they put up 70 in that game, which is insane. Denver since then has been much, much better. So you're taking the cumulative stats, whereas if you look at a smaller sample size over the last few games, their defense is much improved. Yeah. They're turning people over like crazy. And I mean, they've won 5 in a row. I was thinking about this and I didn't look into it, but have the Browns won 5 games in a row since they returned in 1999? I bet they haven't. I really, that would be an interesting thing to look into, because I can't think of, they were 11-5 in 2020. I think they won maybe like 4 games to end the season under, what was his name? Eric Mangini, I want to say. I think they ended the season on a 4-game winning streak, but I don't know. So it is crazy when you come into a season, you look at Denver and be like, oh, they're going to be bad, but you're just catching them at a really bad time. You know what I'm saying? They're on a hot streak. And then this LA Rams team you're playing this week has been up and down, and we'll get into their numbers here in a minute, but they've been up and down, and I don't know. So, all right, here we go. The win streaks. So we're talking, so that's 2020. They won 4 games in a row twice. That I don't see anything, 1994, 5 games in a row. Wow. And that's another thing too. I think the Browns have won 1 game in Denver since 1999. So that is not an easy place to play, regardless of your talent on the roster and whatnot. And Denver's had some good teams over there too. So we'll turn the page on Denver. Let's focus a little bit on the Los Angeles Rams, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to show you some of these numbers, and the Browns defense still holds up. It's still really, really good after last week. The Rams offense and the Rams defense is kind of middling, but I'm going to show you some of these numbers with the Rams offense and the Rams defense versus
the Rams are not the Isaac Bruce, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk Rams
like
at all.
The fastest show on turf, I think they used to call them. But they are not a bad team by any means, and they are led by head coach Sean McVay, who was an Ohio native, born in Dayton, played football at Miami of Ohio. He was the youngest coach in history to win a Super Bowl at 36. I think he's like, what is he, like 40 or 38 now? He's still really young. He is 72-47 in his career, which includes postseason. But this team has Matthew Stafford, former #1 pick of the Lions, who had a great career there, and then finally came back and won a Super Bowl with the Rams a couple years ago. Kyron Williams, the rookie this year, in 7 games has 600 yards rushing. He's averaging 5.3 yards a carry, so we're going to have to slow him down. Puka Nacua, how about that name? Puka Nacua has been a rookie this year out of BYU, but 73 catches on the season for 924 yards and 3 touchdowns. He has kind of taken over that mantle from Cooper Kupp, who was one of the best in the league a couple years ago. Cooper Kupp this year has been banged up a lot, but he has 27 catches for 393 this season and 1 touchdown. And then another wide receiver, Tutu Atwell. How about that name too? So Puka and Tutu, you're going to have to worry about this weekend. 36 catches for Tutu Atwell, 467 yards, 3 TDs. And then Tyler Higbee, the tight end, 32 catches, 332 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Matt Stafford will throw it around. He's averaging about 249 yards per game, 61% completions, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks on the season. So that's a look at their offense and some of their weapons. Their offensive line isn't anything special, pretty solid, but also not great. So they're going to go against the Browns, number 1 defense, still in yards allowed, passing yards. They are 12th against the run. So that's something they're going to have to really start slowing down these other teams. The Browns have given up a good amount of rushing yards the last few weeks to the Steelers, to the Broncos, and a few other teams. Russell Wilson last week was able to get off a little bit and get outside the pocket and rush for some yards last week, and that hurt the Browns defense. Matt Stafford is not that type of quarterback. He is a pocket passer. So the Browns defense, Myles Garrett, hopefully healthy, can get after him. And a lot of that defensive line, Tomlinson and Za'Darius Smith and Obo and all these other guys, if they can pressure him, he will make mistakes. Like I said, 9 interceptions on the season in the 10 games he's played. So he's good for about a pick per game. So Browns defense should be able to take advantage of that. Let me have you look real quick at these Rams offensive numbers. They're right in the middle in yards per game, 356, 226 yards passing, which is 14th, also 14th in rushing yards with 114, right exactly in the middle in scoring, 21 points per game, right in the middle in third down percentage at 41% on the season. And then they have turned the ball over 12 times on the season. So that's a look at the Browns defense versus the Rams offense. How about some of these Rams players to know on defense? Now, everyone is going to know Aaron Donald. He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, walk in to Canton 5 years after he retires. He is a solid player. He is their best player on defense. They have a linebacker named Ernest Jones. He is their leading tackler on the season. They have a safety, Jordan Fuller, who is a former Ohio State Buckeye, who kind of is the captain in the back end there. They have another safety you might remember, John Johnson III.
Oh, I love John Johnson.
Former Cleveland Brown, who was not loved by this fan base. We'll just put it that way. 43 was not a fan favorite over the couple years he was with the Browns.
Mutual,
yes, I'm sure.
Expressed by Twitter.
Exactly. You have linebacker Brian Young, who has 5 sacks on the season. Their leading defensive back with interceptions is Akello Witherspoon, who has only 2 interceptions this year. They are not great at forcing turnovers, which for the Browns, that's a good thing because the Browns like to hand it over to the other team. In fact, they are the, I believe, 2nd or 3rd worst in the NFL in turnovers with 23 on the season. And then another linebacker, Michael, I believe it's Hecht, with 4.5 sacks on the season. The Rams are 5 and 6 on the season, but listen to this. They are 4-1 versus their own division. So they have 2 wins against the Seahawks. They have 2 wins against the Arizona Cardinals, and they have 1 loss against the San Francisco 49ers. So 4-1 in their own division. They are 1-5 versus the rest of the league. So that should bode well for the Browns. This is a team they're not really familiar with, a team they don't play very often. So we'll see what happens there. But, the Browns, again, if you hold on to the ball, you win the turnover ratio, you should be right in the game, if not be comfortably in the lead. So that's where I'll leave it with that.
So question for
yeah,
you. So
please.
let's just say Joe Flacco's your starter
Mm-hmm.
and you have offensive coordinator Justin Coffin.
Yeah.
It says this is basically the angle that I'm going to take on the Rams.
I think the point spread just went way up if I'm the OC. But
what
finish.
What are you running? Are you trusting your 38-year-old quarterback for the pass game, or are you running it? Are you using this run?
I'm relying on the run game. And I'm going to Joe Flacco. What he is known for is he has a big arm. So any chance I get to take a shot downfield, especially if it's one-on-one coverage, I'm taking it, whether it's Amari Cooper. I don't know Marquise Goodwin's status, if he's back. But I'll tell you, the other bright spot from the game last weekend was the rookie receiver, Cedric Tillman. I think he had like 5 for like 60 yards last week, 5 catches for 60. So I was very impressed with him. Him and JOK were the two, stars of that game last week. But if I'm the OC, I am running the ball with Ford and Hunt. I know Hunt's a little banged up, but
so is everybody else.
Everybody else is. So you got to deal with it. It's week 13 or 14 in the NFL season. So
and honestly, maybe with Amari not playing, you don't get these doubling up on your main receiver down the field, and you get some of these young guys that maybe stretch it. And, Flacco hits them up.
Well, if I'm the OC and Amari's not playing either, I might turn in my resignation as well, because we need him. But he is a guy that will play if he's able to go. He's going to play, and unless the doctors tell him no, it's a no-go, he will play. So you got to get the ball to.
Wait, you tendered your resignation on the first day of our hypothetical offensive coordinator.
You just told me Watson ain't playing, Chubb's not playing, Amari Cooper's not playing. Those are my 3 best offensive players. Yeah. And not to mention a couple of your tackles that are banged up. And, we got your fastest wide receivers knocked out right now with the concussion.
David Bell, and you've got Tillman. You got all these great talents.
David Bell, I got to talk about him for a minute. I'm glad you brought that name up. He hasn't done shit. David Bell, I was really happy when the Browns drafted him. He's a 3rd round draft pick. 3rd round draft picks. That Puka Nacua, who I mentioned earlier, he was like a late 5th round pick this year, and he has like 80 catches on the season for like 1,000 yards or 800 yards. It's like, David Bell, can you give me half of that? And maybe it's like this different styles of offense and stuff, but I don't get it. Like, Browns need to get some of these guys involved. And going back to your original question, run the ball and get the ball to your weapons. So get the ball to Njoku, get the ball, maybe some screen passes out in the flat to Ford or Hunt or Njoku. Try to spread it out to Cooper and, whoever it might be out on the receiver. I still really like the Browns receivers. Do I think a lot of guys need to step up? Absolutely. But the talent is there, but it's the point guard, it's the quarterback. He needs to spread the ball around. And if it's Joe Flacco, you're probably going with more of a vanilla game plan. You're not going to be, throwing a ton of different reads at him. He's been in the system for 10 days.
So who do you think Flacco's favorite receiver will be?
Well, I think if Amari Cooper's playing, you got to go with him because he is the most veteran guy. He's an all-pro. He has, until last week, has the best hands on the team. But I could see Elijah Moore, getting those quick slants and little pop screens and stuff like that. And Njoku, they always say a quarterback's best friend is the tight end, especially he's like your release valve. He's, a lot of times you get mismatches, whether it's a safety on him that's not quite as big or a linebacker that's not quite as fast. And so you might see some mismatches there, but I don't know. Hopefully Kevin Stefanski figures that out, and that's why he gets paid a little bit more than we do.
Because you were willing to do it for free. I've got that feeling.
Well, I would be an analyst, let's put it that way. And they could just pay for my flight out to LA and
you'll help them out.
Yeah. I would love to see that stadium too. SoFi, I've heard, is one of the best stadiums, if not the best stadium in the NFL.
So my fear is that David Njoku just like Cade York, once it gets to be like a mental thing,
Yeah.
like once they get in their head that they better not drop this,
yeah,
that it's more likely to happen.
Well,
So
yeah.
I almost hope that they switch to Bryant and make that your outlet receiver. I know Njoku's a great blocker when he's doing his thing, but I think it's that psychological thing's gonna be rough.
I think he'll come through.
Okay.
I think he'll come through, and you do see guys with like peaks and valleys throughout the season, and there is like something to be said about what you're saying. You have to have that positive mindset, because if you're thinking don't drop the ball, you're probably it's like a fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want those negative thoughts to creep in, and sometimes they probably will, but you got to think positive, you got to be positive, and other guys need to step up in other guys' absences. You got to come in, and it's like, yeah, we might not have all of our best players right now, but you're still putting 11 guys on the field. It's not like you're playing at a disadvantage, like there's a guy in the penalty box in hockey or something like that. You're playing 11 on 11. And football still the ultimate team game. If all 11 are doing their part, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it can be done well enough.
Yeah.
So.
And for years our achievement was, let's go a 50% season, right? Just hit 500
right.
And we're happy. And this year I think the title is that we had depth in areas that we didn't even know we had depth, where even though we might not have won some of these games, I was really surprised when we lost somebody who I thought was critical in our offensive line. The next guy stepped in there and you could barely tell that we were missing something.
Honestly, you haven't noticed much with Jed Wills being out. Yes. Like that's another guy we didn't even mention yet, but this Jerron Christian has come in and hasn't really missed a beat. Maybe even playing to the exact level, if not better than Jed Wills was, who's a former first-round pick. You got the big guy, Thanos, on the right side, who that's what they call him. That's his nickname. So you got him. He's been in and out of the lineup, and you play Hudson over there, and he's not. Hudson is not quite the player that DeJuan Jones is.
Right.
So, but both of those guys, if they play up to their ability, they can get it done. So we'll see. So I don't know. Let's take a look at the AFC playoff standings.
Do we have a chance?
Do we
have a shot?
Well, I mean, right now we're number 6.
Okay.
We're number 6 out of 7. And of course, the Steelers flip-flopped with us last week because the Steelers always find a freaking ugly ass way to win, and they fire Matt Canada, and everyone is rejoicing and saying Kenny Pickett's their savior in Pittsburgh, of course. So
not the case, buddies.
Small hands Pickett isn't going to get the job done. But
can I do some blasphemy here?
Yeah, please.
Pickett and McCord are the same quarterback.
Oh, man.
So bad.
Oh, that's an interesting question to pose. Ohio State fans, who would you rather have, Kenny Pickett or Kyle McCord? And
neither. Murder them both.
I think most of them would say Kenny Pickett at this point. So I don't want to talk about. And you know what? I've heard a lot of Buckeye fans call him Kyle Honda Accord this week, because you got Maserati Marv on the outside. Your awesome blazing speedster and car and great weapon, and then you got your McCord. So that is I will defend these guys. We'll talk about Ohio State later. I'm still so pissed about it. I'm still in the bargaining stage of my my depression here with the coping and stuff with Ohio State, but we'll deal with that on a future show, because I'm still not ready. Ready. I do have one Ohio State topic I want to talk about in a little bit, but looking at the AFC playoff standings, Joe.
Yes.
All right. So right now the Ravens are the freaking 1 seed, 9-3. Then you got the Chiefs, Jags, and Dolphins, all 8-3, division leaders, 2, 3, and 4. The Steelers are in the 5th spot. The Browns are in the 6th spot, and the Indianapolis Colts right now, if the playoffs started today, would be the 7th seed at 6-5. Then outside looking in, you got Houston, Denver, both at 6-5, Bills at 6-6, and then I kept the Bengals and the Raiders up there, although I don't think they have a shot. So those are the AFC teams right now with a shot. To me, it's 10 teams for 7 spots. So with the teams that are in the Ravens, Chiefs, Jags, Dolphins, Steelers, Browns, Colts, and then the next three best ones, the Texans, Broncos, and Bills. Out of those 10 teams, 7 of them will make the playoffs. So I don't know which ones are which. Right now, I would say those top 4 are pretty locked in. So really, it's 6 teams for 3 spots. If you want to look at it that way, Steelers, Browns, Colts, Texans, Broncos, Bills for 3 spots. So we got a long way to go. Luckily for the Browns, they have a 2-game lead on 2 games in the loss column to the Bills, and now you've lost the tiebreaker with the Broncos, but you have the tiebreaker versus the Colts. So there's going to be a lot of fluidity and a lot of moving parts with this.
Of the remaining games a couple weeks ago, did you have the Broncos as a they're probably win that?
I think we talked about that, and I think I put we'll give that a loss because they were the underdogs in that game, and we weren't sure of the quarterback situation.
So we're still on par.
We still are, and here's a look at the remaining schedule for the rest of the teams. But the Steelers, I hate to say this, but the Steelers are going to win 10 games. They're going to win 10, if not 11. You look at their schedule: Arizona at home, New England, who's maybe the worst team in the NFL right now, the Colts, that'll be a tough game for them, Cincinnati without Burrow, at Seattle, who looks bad all of a sudden, but not an easy place to play. And now Baltimore, who knows? Baltimore might have the division locked up and rest all their starters in that last week. Then the Browns this week, you got the Rams.
We'll get the Rams.
I hope so. Jaguars at home. That's going to be a tough game.
We'll lose that one.
The Bears should be a win.
Good.
At the Texans on Christmas Eve. I don't know. Houston's really good all of a sudden.
We're going to take Houston.
The Jets,
got that one.
That should be a win, even though Aaron Rodgers is back practicing, apparently. I don't know how. Medical marvel. And then at the Bengals, without Joe Burrow, let's put that maybe. So if I'm looking
count 11.
So if I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at 10. By my count, I'm looking at the Bears, the Jets, and the Bengals. And
is that good enough to playoffs?
If you get to 10 wins, you're in.
Okay.
If you get to 10 wins, you're in. I think 11, 100% for sure you're in. And the Ravens actually have a pretty tough schedule down the stretch, but I think they're going to win at least 2 more games, and then they'll have the tiebreaker and stuff like that. But so I don't think the AFC North is in question, but I think, and I don't care if the Browns are the 5, 6, or 7, just get in the playoffs and we'll figure it out. Obviously, the spot you want to be in is the 5 seed. And then you maybe take on the Jaguars, or you maybe take on the Dolphins or something like that. But that's kind of what it's looking like for me.
Well, how appealing that is that you come in as a quarterback at Joe Flacco and you're set up for a playoffs run.
Mm-hmm. But here's my question to you. If DTR is healthy, and obviously Flacco is healthy, who do you start?
DTR.
You start. I agree.
He has hung out with that offense all year long.
Yeah, and I think he gives you more of the upside. I think Joe Flacco is what we want. He's what you want in a veteran. However, keep in mind, he was on the street. No one picked him up until roughly Thanksgiving.
Well, I think he has a really good showing with the Rams. He starts, he wins, he sets that standard super high, and then DTR comes back the following game.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I don't care who plays this weekend as long as we get a W. This has been a weird season for the Browns. We went from winning that Baltimore game to thinking like Super Bowl, a potential, to 2 days later.
Suck again.
Well, yeah, we freaking water boy. Oh, we suck again. So yeah, very frustrating. But I don't know. Hopefully, the Browns being out on the West Coast in LA, I think they're staying in Beverly Hills. Hopefully, can recoup, enjoy that nice weather, go play in a beautiful stadium with no weather, and let that defense go to work, and the offense does just enough to get the job done. Or maybe they surprise us and have put up 24, 30 points. I don't know, and the offense just needs to not screw it up. Just get enough done and let the defense go to work and see how the chips may fall. So,
and if you have Stefanski's number, send him a text and tell him to run the freaking ball.
Amen. So here's a look at the top 5, bottom 5 teams, in my opinion, going into week 13 in the NFL here. So I have the Eagles in the number 1 spot. I have the Chiefs at 2, Ravens at 3, 49ers at 4, and Jaguars at the 5 spot. So the Browns will play the Jaguars still, who I have in the number 5 spot. That is all in the top 5. In the bottom 5, the Browns will still play the Chicago Bears. Again, that is my opinion. That this is fluid. We had the Broncos in this for several weeks, and the Broncos have just taken off. So, teams can improve throughout the season, and guys can step up and
except for the Cardinals without Josh effing Dobbs.
How about Josh Dobbs though? He did not play a beautiful game. I mean, the Chicago Bears beat the Vikings on Monday Night Football. I think, what was it, like 12-10 or something like that? That was the first game all season. Teams were 0-28 when not scoring a touchdown. And that was the first game all season when a team didn't score a touchdown and won. So 1-28 now after that Monday Night Football game.
Both Baker and Dobbs are coming apart at the end of the season.
Yes. And I would not be surprised. This is going to sound funny because Josh Dobbs has had he's a backup quarterback for the Browns. Oh, wait, he's traded to the Cardinals. Oh, wait, now he's great again. Now he's back down. I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota went to a backup quarterback for the remainder of the season. So we'll see. They drafted a rookie in the 4th or 5th round. So we'll see.
I'm still president of his fan club.
Yes. Yeah. And you got to love Josh Dobbs as a person. He's a great guy. So, Joe, it is time to make our picks this week. I did not send them to you this week intentionally because I knew we were going to do this.
Yeah.
So
you knew that I was going to forget to do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
I
good on you.
For those that don't know, Joe is really bad at responding back to texts. So sometimes I will send him the same message 4 times.
Well, you inspired a talk this morning with me and my kid about procrastination.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's why I get paid the huge bucks here. So let's go to week 13 picks. Teams on bye this week: the Ravens, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Giants, and Vikings. So I'll put my picks up in a minute, but let's start with tonight. We have a Thursday night game. It's on Amazon Prime. Seattle at Dallas. Joe, I'm going to go with Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys win big.
I'm going
tonight.
Dallas as well.
Okay, so we're both on Dallas. I am going to go with the Indianapolis Colts winning on the road against the Titans.
That's a good pick.
All right.
I'll go with Colts as well.
All right. 2 for 2 on that. The LA Chargers. I hate this game because both of these teams, Chargers are the most underachieving team in the league, and the Patriots might be the worst roster in the league. So I'm going to go with the Chargers based on talent. I think the Chargers win. So Chargers over the
I'm with you.
Patriots.
First 3, same as you.
Patriots. Detroit Lions coming off a bad loss on Thanksgiving at the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to go with the Lions in a bounce back here.
I'm going to go with the Saints on this one.
Ooh, Joe goes with the Saints, a home team though. That should be, and that line to me is a little fishy. I feel like Detroit should be a higher value on that. And so you might be onto something there.
They just did not have a good game at Thanksgiving.
And that defense is not very good. The offense is solid, but the defense not so great.
Yeah, Seattle really disappointed us.
Another ugly game. Atlanta at the New York Jets. Atlanta is the prettier of the ugly teams. So I'm going to go with the Falcons to beat the Jets in New York.
See, I hate Atlanta. So even saying their name makes me. So I'm going to just say, yeah.
So it is 4:08 on November 30th. I'm going to say this for next year. I think Justin Fields is the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons next year.
Nice.
So I'm going to put that out there, and I think he should be. If you put Justin Fields in that offense, that Atlanta team, I think goes from like a 7-8 win team to a 10 win playoff.
Do you have
team.
some inside information?
I do not, but
just a feeling.
I just have that feeling because Atlanta, if they get a quarterback, and Justin Fields is from the state of Georgia, so
okay,
that's just my, perception there. So we'll see. All right. Arizona at Pittsburgh. I hate doing this, but I got to do it. I'm taking the Steelers.
I'm taking the Steelers as well. No Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, if Josh
no
Dobbs was there, I know who you'd be taking. But Kyler Murray is playing, and he's been playing decent. So,
but still,
but we're both going with the Steelers. Okay. Carolina at the Tampa Bay Baker Mayfields. So Carolina is the first team to fire their head coach this season, Frank Reich.
And this is early, guys. Like these coach firings are happening way early in this season.
Around Thanksgiving is, you figure you let it play out. You got to pay them anyway. So, but Carolina they have currently right now the worst record in the NFL. They don't even have their pick. So right now they would have the number 1 pick, but that pick goes to the Chicago Bears. So the Bears are set up pretty good because they're going to have maybe 1 or number 2 pick in the NFL draft, plus a number 3, 4, 5 pick, depending on how they finish. So they're going to be set up. They're going to be, and that's another reason maybe you move off Justin Fields, acquire more assets, and move him and pick up Caleb Williams or somebody like that. All right, so Carolina at Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay.
I'm going with Baker Mayfield too.
All right. Miami at Washington. I think Washington has cashed in their chips. They're done for the season. They fired the defensive coordinator. I'm going to go with the Dolphins big in this one.
Did you see the chunk out of his arm?
Oh, that was gross. It looked like a shark bite.
Dude, it was huge. That was like,
so did somebody scratch him or something?
There was like a steak morsel taken out of his freaking arm.
That was pretty gross.
He's badass. I'm going with Miami.
All right, Miami and Tua for both of us. Denver, the team that knocked off the Browns and the Browns' future opponent in a couple weeks here, the Houston Texans. I'm going to ride with C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans over the Denver Broncos.
I'm going Texans as well.
And did you see how that game ended last week? So Houston played Jacksonville. At home. CJ Stroud gets him in position for a 58-yard field goal as the time is running out. The kicker, beautiful kick right down the center, hit the crossbar and bounced back.
Doink.
Yeah, lost it. So 58 yards, dead center. Literally 3 inches they win the game but you talk to women out there, they'll tell you those 3 inches matter a lot. So
3 inches never wins the game ever.
The Browns at the Rams. Browns, I like the mojo staying out in LA for the week, kind of maybe getting away from the family after the Thanksgiving week. You're out in the Mile High City. It's never a good feeling for the Browns out there. You go to LA. I think the Browns sneak by and win a close one. I think the Browns win this game 24-23. You don't have to give me a score, but I'm going with the Browns.
Did you say they're practicing at UCLA?
At UCLA, which is in Westwood, a beautiful part of Los Angeles.
All right, I'll go with the Browns. I can't not go with the Browns. Come
okay.
on.
Yeah. All right. So we're both on the Browns. This is an interesting game. The 49ers at the Philadelphia. This is the game of the week, in my opinion. Well, this is definitely the game of the week. 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia 10-1. The 49ers maybe the best team in the NFL, the way they're playing. The 49ers are actually a 3-point favorite in Philadelphia. I'm taking the Eagles until they lose, even though they haven't been playing the best football, but they're winning. They're still winning. So I'm going to go with the Eagles.
I think Eagles are due for a loss. I'm going with San Francisco.
Okay, Joe on the 49ers. Kansas City at Green Bay. Again,
poor
Kansas City. Yeah. Green Bay, though, they came in to Detroit and won on Thanksgiving. So they're kind of one of those middling teams that they almost beat the Steelers. They almost beat, the Rams. They almost beat this team. They almost beat that team, but they finally got over the hump. They beat the Lions last week. I think they're 5-6 in that range. But with that said, I'm going to go with the Chiefs over the Packers.
All right. I'm painting my face and wearing my headdress. I'm going Chiefs.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were going to say your cheesehead for a minute. So Joe is on the Chiefs as well. And then the burrowless Bengals at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just, I don't feel bad for Cincinnati because they don't feel bad for us. And I do like Joe Burrow. I do like Joe Burrow a lot, and I feel bad for him. But the Jaguars take him down. Bengals go to 5-7.
I would really like to see all of the AFC North into the playoffs, but I got to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think the writing's on the wall for the Bengals, and they might want to sell out and just try to get the best draft pick this year. But I think we're both on the Jaguars this week. So there's a look at my picks. I'll put Joe's picks out on social media along with mine here in the this evening before the 8:00 kickoff tonight. So a couple things here, Joe. Right now, as I last looked, the Rams were a 3.5-point favorite over the Browns. What do you think about that line? 3.5 points. The Browns are underdogs.
I don't know.
I think the Browns are actually going to have, might be a 50-50 split out there fans wise. So I think, like I said, I would take the Browns with the points. I'm fingers crossed they win. I like the Browns with the points getting 3.5. So I don't know. What do you say?
Yeah, it's one of those teams like, I don't pay a whole lot of attention. I've watched 0 games by St. Louis, this year. So hope for the best.
Yeah. And that's really all you can do. So, All right, let's switch just a few more minutes here. But let's switch to college football real quick. It is championship weekend. Unfortunately, Ohio State will not be playing again for the 3rd straight year on championship weekend. But
are they at least in the Cheddar Cheese Bowl?
They're going to be in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Okay.
So most likely they're going to play in the Orange Bowl.
Okay.
Which is one of the better bowl games down in Miami. If I put together a wish list of what the Buckeyes fans need to be rooting for this weekend if they want to make the playoffs. Now, it's not likely, but you're telling me there's a chance. So here's the wish list of what I think Ohio State needs. They need Georgia to beat Alabama. That's more likely than not. You need Michigan to win. Actually, you really don't need Michigan to win. Michigan can lose, and they're going to be in. But let's just hypothetically say we want Michigan to win. Actually, I take that back. You never want Michigan to win. Screw them. Let Iowa win, and we'll see what happens. But here's what you do need. You need Georgia to win 1. You need Florida State, which is very likely that they can lose to Louisville. I would say that's a coin flip game. Florida State is without quarterback Jordan Travis with a broken leg. So he is out for the season against Louisville. And Louisville's been up and coming. I think if Ohio State doesn't make the playoffs, they will play the loser of this game. So if Florida State loses, I think Ohio State might play them in the Orange Bowl. If Louisville loses, I think Ohio State might play them in the Orange Bowl. But if Louisville wins and Oklahoma State beats Texas, I think you're going to see the Buckeyes get into the playoffs. Now, again, very unlikely. It's like hitting a 3-game parlay, but stranger things have happened. So that is the Buckeyes rooting checklist this weekend. Georgia to win, Louisville to beat Florida State, and Oklahoma State, the Fighting Gundies. I'm a man. I'm 40. He's probably he's got to be 57 now or something. That was a long time ago. But and you need Oklahoma State to beat Texas.
Are we just spoiled now? Because I feel so deflated after Ohio State. No Pasadena, no.
And that there's a good chance they would have been playing in the Rose Bowl in the semifinals. And if Ohio State would have won, there's a good chance they would have been number 1 overall in the the college football playoff rankings. But spoiled is a good word. Unfortunately, for 3 years in a row, we have lost. And last year we got in because, we probably had the best team in college football last year. And, Michigan, again, did they cheat and won last year? Yeah. This year we have no excuses. Michigan beat us fair and square. Few calls that could have went either way. A few plays that would have went. That interception were that touchdown for Michigan, that pass that was like, Denzel Burke pulled away in the end zone. That will haunt me, because if that ball is anywhere else on the field besides the end zone, that's an interception, not a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So that I've thought about that play like more than I cared to admit this last week, but it is what it is. And I am not a fire Ryan Day person, but
me neither.
You're not either.
Not
okay. I mean, he's 56-7, and some people will say, okay, well, yeah, how many wins are against Indiana? How many wins are against, MAC teams, whatever. It's like, well, he's record-wise one of the best college coaches in the country. I would put him as a top 5 coach in all of college football. So tell me, for anyone out there that wants Ryan Day fired, who would you replace him with?
Yep.
And
we're way too fire happy. Way too fire.
Yeah, and it's such a lazy thing. It's like, okay, fire the coach. Okay, well, one, tell me who you're going to replace him with that's going to be better. And I've heard Mike Vrabel. Okay, I will listen to that. But I've heard people say Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline is an offensive coordinator by title. He is a wide receivers coach. He has never called a game in his life. He has never been a head coach in his life. So he is not ready. Is he a great recruiter? Absolutely. But he's not ready to take over a major program like that. And the headaches that these guys have to deal with, recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, which is insane. Not to mention, it's like, I keep hearing people say, well, Ryan Day's not from Ohio. He doesn't get it. He's lived in Ohio the last 7 or 8 years. You don't need to tell him how important this game is. Now, for someone that's been raised in Ohio their entire life, now they might say, okay, I get it a little bit more. Maybe, but this guy lives and breathes it every single day. He's in that locker room. He's coaching those guys. He has coached against Michigan for the last 7 years. It's like, don't tell me this isn't important to him. So,
yeah, the only criticism I'll listen to is that if the game that matters every year is the Michigan game, and you are hired specifically to win that game, then it's like, okay, that going in, you have to win that game. Then, okay, you got a point. But everything else, you're right. Who else are you going to put? So Ryan Day, Mike Tomlin, those are the 2 criticisms that I'm like, you got no basis on that firing.
Agreed. And, I think Ryan Day is going to turn the tide eventually.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you're getting to 11 wins minimum every year. And,
there are programs that would kill for that.
There's programs that would kill for 9 wins a year. I mean, my God, there's programs that just want to be in a bowl game.
You're right.
And I get the standard is so much higher at Ohio State. And I get, too, the quarterback position. We are spoiled in that sense. C.J. Stroud, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace. Joe Burrow was there. I know he didn't play for Ohio State much, but he was there. Before him, J.T. Barrett, which people were hated on so much. He's the winningest quarterback in Ohio State history. It's like, you don't realize what you have until it's gone, kind of thing. And it's very frustrating, because we are a spoiled fan base, and it's very, very frustrating.
I'd like to see this season roll out with a quarterback other than McCord, and what Day could have done.
I will say, I think a change needs to be made at quarterback too. I think Kyle McCord is a very good quarterback. He is not an Ohio State good quarterback.
Amen.
So I will bet they will get somebody either in the transfer portal, or they're going to just completely open the competition. And there is a kid named Air Noland. Air.
His name is Air.
I think Air might be his middle name, but it's like Prentice Air Noland. He is the next big thing coming in, and he's coming into Ohio State in January. So he will he's graduating next month in December. He will be at Ohio State enrolled in January. He will get to go through those practices, get to go through the spring ball, and then get to go through the summer. And I'm not saying he's going to be ready, but maybe you pick up somebody in the transfer portal 1 year and that's experienced, a veteran, and then you roll it out. But Ohio State, again, we're very lucky to be in the position we're in. But
we've had 8 consecutive awesome quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You get one stinker in there. They're okay, but they're just not great.
And again, it's not like he's the worst quarterback,
right,
we've ever had or anything like that, but he's one of the worst quarterbacks we've had in 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
You take Stroud and put him in this year, you're winning the championship.
And let me remind people, about 2.5 years ago, people were calling for Kyle McCord to be played over CJ Stroud and him to be benched. So be careful what you wish for.
Exactly.
So do I think the Buckeyes will get somebody to replace him better? Yes, I do. But I'm going to let that play out as.
Would you rather be offensive coordinator for the Browns or the Buckeyes?
The Buckeyes. You have more weapons. I will say, though, as much as I love Ohio State, the fan base might be more brutal because there are so many fans out there that expect absolute perfection. And, Ohio State was one play away from winning that game.
Yep.
One that touchdown doesn't go in for Michigan, or, you make that field goal at the end or whatever it might be, that it's just very, very frustrating. So
you'd be afraid that you'd be fired in the first inning. Huh?
First inning, huh? Are we playing baseball? I know what you mean. No, definitely in the first quarter, for sure. Yeah, the fans would be calling from my head, and that's why I don't coach football. That's why I watch it. So I think I know a lot about football, but I would never claim I'm smart enough to coach it. So yeah. So let's take a look at championship weekend. There are 10 games on the slate in the FBS. You got Louisville and Florida State. You got Oklahoma State and Texas. So in those games, I already told you, we want Louisville to win. We want Oklahoma State to win. Oregon, Washington, that's a de facto playoff game. Winner is in, loser is out. Iowa, Michigan. Iowa, great defense, maybe the worst offense in college football, taking on Michigan, who has maybe the best defense in college football. And then you got Alabama, Georgia, the usual matchup down there. And then that's
gonna be a good game.
That should be good. And Alabama, though, is a very frustrating team. They're not super great this year, but somehow, just like always, they have 11 wins.
Yep.
And if they win, they're in. If they lose, obviously, they are out.
It's exciting to watch no matter who they play.
And Georgia, two-time defending national champions. They're undefeated. This is one of the best runs in all of college football in history. So, and then the other 5 championship games, you got New Mexico State at Liberty in the Conference USA. In MACtion, you got Miami of Ohio and Toledo. You got Mountain West, Boise State at UNLV. American, you got SMU at Tulane, and you got App State and Troy in the Sun Belt. So those are the matchups this weekend. So that's kind of your guide to this weekend in FBS. Here's a look at the Big Ten standings as it looks. And my goodness, look at the Big Ten East. 12-0, 11-1, 10-2. Iowa somehow went 10-2 in the West, but the rest is just garbage. So that's all we need to talk about there. Real quick, check in with Youngstown State. They had their first playoff victory in 7 years last weekend over Duquesne. 40-7. What a great win for the Penguins. I think they've knocked off Duquesne 5 straight times. And that is, I believe, their 16th or 17th straight victory at home in the playoffs, over the course of a couple decades there. So great win by YSU. They will now take on the Villanova Wildcats. This is not basketball. If it was YSU and Villanova, I would not like our chances. However, this is football. Penguins and Villanova, this should be a very evenly matched game. I would expect Villanova to be a slight favorite because of the home advantage there, but I like YSU going in the road to make it a close game this weekend. And let's just get it to the fourth quarter and see what happens. So good luck, YSU. From all of us down here at Youngstown Studio in the 330 Sports Show, should be an awesome game. And
can I have you pick something before we sign off here?
Please.
I'm going to give you all the bowl names, and I want you to pick the dumbest bowl name that's on the list.
Okay.
So we got the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Cricket Bowl,
Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl. Right now, that's in the lead.
All right. The Radiance
Technology.
Famous Toastery Bowl.
I love coffee, but Scooter's Coffee Frisco Bowl? Okay. Wait. Roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl? Is that for all the hurricanes that are down there? You want to reclaim your roofs? Lockheed Martin. Armed Forces. Isn't Lockheed Martin, I don't want to go, we don't have time to get into all the conspiracy theories, but aren't they
defense contractor?
Yeah, they dabble in reverse engineering and a bunch of that stuff. Okay. East Coast Hawaii Bowl. Surf Pro. Hats off to Surf Pro, who's helped come fix my basement during
Duke's
a flood.
Mayo Bowl.
Oh, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That goes to the lead right now.
Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
What wasabi?
Wasabi's awesome.
Isn't that like hot?
Yeah, when you eat your sushi, it's the wasabi's the green stuff that goes in there.
Okay.
The Bad Boy.
The Bad Boy Mowers Bowl. The Pinstripe Bowl, which is in Yankee Stadium too. Oh, Pop-Tarts Bowl.
I'm going with Pop-Tarts.
All right.
That's my,
we should rank these. Tony the Tiger Bowl. Here's what I'm gonna just Trans Perfect Bowl. Here's what I'm gonna say real quick.
Okay.
I think Cheez-It Bowl. I think what it should be is like the Sugar Bowl presented by Allstate, or the Fiesta Bowl presented by Verbo, or even if you want to go the Citrus Bowl presented by Cheez-It. Doesn't that sound a lot better than the Cheez-It Bowl?
Cheez-It Bowl.
No, it's the freaking Citrus Bowl presented by Cheez-It. Yeah, like get back to that. I know the advertising dollars is where it's at, but come on, it sounds cheesy, if you will. See what I did there?
Yeah. All right, so I got Pop-Tarts Bowl. What's your most unfavorite? I forget. You picked like 5 of them.
I did.
Bad Boys was one.
Okay, so I will say this. So it's December 27th, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. They actually dumped mayonnaise on the winning coach, I believe. How about the Military Bowl presented by GoBowling.com? There's some bad.
There's a good connection.
We need to rank these. Actually, this would be a good. We'll do this in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
There's always the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
And it's basically whoever the sponsor is has to dump whatever their product is on the coach, and we have to have the funniest dump.
Oh man, So what if it was the Goodyear Bowl and the friggin' blimp has to drop?
Yes, or tires.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
Good thing there's no Seaman Bowl.
Oh,
did I say that?
All right, we've gone off the rails. We have gone, and I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say on the next thing, but
you got to end it on something different. Though. Okay, Tony the Tiger Bowl, cornflakes.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. They should have a sister bowl like the 2% milk non-fat bowl. I mean, is there a friggin' bowl for everything? There really is.
Everything.
Oh man. Okay. Well, let's end it there since we went off the rails. How about the off the rails? What's the train company? Let's go the Norfolk Southern off the rails bowl. Too soon. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back next Tuesday. I actually think I'm going to be busy and not be able to be in studio next Tuesday. So I might have a special draft coming up for you next Tuesday. I'll let you know. But check out our social media pages. Make sure you're following Youngstown Studio and the 330 Sports Show. We appreciate you guys for watching. For Joe Danier, BJ's in the back. I'm Justin. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Make sure to root for Oklahoma State, Louisville, and Georgia this weekend. Everybody have a good one. Go Penguins.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.